Last week, I was down in Richmond, where I went to college, teaching a few classes at my alma mater. It's been 20 years since I graduated, about half that since my last visit to campus, and what an interesting sense of time passing it is to visit a place 10, 20 years down the road since the last time you were there. In that time, I've seen plenty of changes around me, friends getting married, having children, leaving jobs, moving, buying houses, growing and thriving, and sometimes doing over. There have been changes in my own life as well, as I'm sure there have been for you, little and large, in the last 10 or 20 years. But when you step away from a place, like perhaps the neighborhood where you grew up, or your college campus, or a town you called home once upon a time, or even a former job, when you step away from a place to make a new life elsewhere, and then come back for a visit, you receive a unique glimpse of time passing, of remembering what you and your life looked like back then, of comparing what is now and perhaps how your life's turned out differently than you imagined it might back then, of envisioning how your life might look in another few or 10 years if you come back again for a visit. Of these three that make up our lives, past, present, and future, it was not only the past, but also the present that was on my mind while I was down in Richmond, as I was there to talk to a bunch of seniors about work-life balance, about how to care for themselves in the flurry of graduating up ahead and the new jobs that will be waiting for many of them, or the start of grad school, or the move back home, and all of the feelings and comparisons that can come with those transitions, hopes and disappointments, frustrations, worries, and excitement too. My job was to remind them to appreciate right where you are, even as you may hope for and strive for more. To always take the time to be present and grateful, and from that place of presence and gratitude, you make the best decisions and life just feels better. To do this, to practice being present and grateful, we meditated in my classes last week. We practiced some yoga. We wrote gratitude lists and dream lists. We talked about what they're afraid of up ahead, as well as what inspires them when they're feeling worried. And finally, each wrote a letter to her or himself to open at graduation in 6 months, a sort of inspiration to their future selves. Many of these things I did with them, I had actually done with the youth group here at the Dover Church, and it reminded me of my time back then. And to some of these students, I admitted that some of the decisions I'd made soon after graduating, I made from a place of fear, not confidence, or even better, love. I was afraid of being rejected, afraid of starting out the lowest one on the totem pole, and thus hesitant to pursue a career in writing, which had been one of my dreams. Being a minister, on the other hand, which is what I became then, felt safe and known, which is not a bad thing at all, but for me, it didn't lead to a lifelong career match. I was afraid, too, that if I didn't get married to the man who asked me in my mid-20s, I might miss out on partnership, remain single, continue living at home with my parents. I'd never really dated in my 20s, and it seemed a scary and depressing prospect. When you make decisions, especially bigger ones, from a place of fear, when you're not feeling so great about yourself and your life, your decisions are less likely to lead to a place that's right for you, which is okay because change is always possible. But much easier than doing over is getting yourself into a good place to begin with, not perfect, but present, grateful, and confident, and from there, figuring out what comes next. Because in most cases, there's no rush to figure out next steps. Indeed, clarity can't be rushed. Picture the ocean when it's roiled up, seaweed and sand and little creatures floating about, and you can't see the bottom. But if you wait for the water to calm and sediment to settle, not disappear but rest on the ocean floor, then you can see clearly through the water. Similarly with your mind, if you slow down and wait for your thoughts to settle, they don't disappear, but they get quieter, and out of the quiet you can hear more clearly the wisdom you need to hear, the clarity. So how do you live in the present? What brings you back to yourself? helps you feel grounded, content, joyful, even in the midst of whatever hardship or worry or stress you're dealing with. From our passage in Revelation this morning, then I saw a new heaven and a new earth. See, the home of God is among mortals. I know the writer of Revelation is referring to a future time, a new world up ahead when this earth, as we know it, gives way to God's heavenly one. But I also know that here and now, in this very moment, in all of the moments of your life so far and up ahead, God is already here. The home of God is here among us right now. A new heaven and a new earth are already here if we choose to see it is so. Sure, there's so much to fix in our world and in our own lives too, but that doesn't mean there isn't so much to appreciate as well. Autumn beauty and bird song and our own breath and so much love, all of it right here before our eyes all around us. This is why I love making gratitude lists, sitting for a few minutes and listing everything I'm grateful for right now, whether little or large. It's also why I love meditating every day, being quiet for a few moments, as I was this morning outside in the backyard with the Japanese maple, crisp air and bird calls surrounding me, feeling the sun on my face, smell of autumn, and then the smell of coffee brewing when I came back inside. E. Cummings wrote, "I thank God for this most amazing day, for the leaping greenly spirits of trees, and for the blue dream of sky, and for everything which is natural, which is infinite, which is yes." Why is it important to live in this beautiful, most amazing day, as Cummings writes? Because to live in the present is to honor those who've come before. The poet Mary Oliver writes, "Sometimes I need only to stand wherever I am to be blessed." We are all so blessed to be here alive today. To close, a few words from Jane Goodall, the anthropologist who studied those chimpanzees in Tanzania. She wrote, "The tree I had in my garden as a child, my beech tree, I used to climb up there and spend hours. I took my homework up there, my books. I went up there if I was sad, and it just felt very good to be up there among the green leaves and the birds and the sky." What is the tree in your garden? The place where it feels very good to be. Be it an actual place that brings you peace or a practice, perhaps. Well, go there often, just to be. Thankful for life itself, receiving life's blessings, simple as they may oftentimes be. Do this and your life will unfold in beautiful ways, even if you can't picture them right now. Beautiful ways, though, that will ultimately feel like home to you. In gratitude for what was, what is, and what will be, amen.